Hey nail sisters, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how to apply your press-on nails with gel to make them not pop off easy during everyday wear. I'm also going to show this nail rhinestone design. I'm trying to show here how these stones look more shiny, and later in the video you'll kind of notice that they will look a little dull, and that's because here I clean the rhinestones off so they can appear more shiny. So definitely do that when you're working with rhinestones. First, I'm starting off. You want to push back your cuticles with a cuticle pusher and clean underneath your cuticles as well to remove any dead skin. You can also use a cuticle nipper if you feel comfortable with that. I like to use my e-file to go in with these cuticle bits to remove that dead skin so I can prevent any type of lifting. So now I'm showing here how you want to file your nails next, and what I'm showing here with the file is you don't want the file directly to go inside into your sidewalls, because you can end up with different shaped nails and having nails that curve up or downward, especially depending on how you have your file positioned. This can also cause the tissue underneath to be exposed, which can lead to more allergic reactions, especially when you get ready to apply that product, and if you're filing off too much of your nail plate. So next, you want to take off the shine with your file. You can also do this with a e-file if you're more comfortable. Now, there is a difference between removing the shine on top of your nails and removing layers off your natural nail plate, which is called overfiling. So the rule of thumb, especially if you're a beginner, I would say to only go over it like 3 times. So that means you should be able to use your file or e-file from one side to the other side in 3 movements. So when you're removing just the shine, you're just taking that oil off the top part of the nail plate. When you start to go from side to side, you'll be able to start seeing that it'll look a bit whitish. So you're only removing a very fine layer of oils and contaminants, but you're never trying to thin out the nail plate itself. This is when you kind of want to stop, because you will damage your nails if you take off too many layers. You also don't want to. Next, you want to file a tip, and I like to remove it's like a plastic part at the top cuticle area. I like to remove this, and so that it also fits nicely. Now, these tips I did get off of Amazon, which I will leave a link, but I really like these tips in particular because they already come pretty natural to use. But what I mean is they already come where I don't have to really do too much work. Like I said, again, I just really take off this plastic part that sticks up, that kind of like shows that you're actually wearing press on. So I take that off, and then I'm kind of shaping the cuticle area and the sides so that they fit my cuticle area. Next, you want to file the shine off inside the tip, where you're going to adhere the tip to your natural nails the same way like you are removing this shine from your natural nail plate. You want to do the same thing with the tip so that your press-ons are not lifting or popping off easily. We need to basically remove any shines, oils, anything that's going to block these products from bonding together. This is what we need to take care of beforehand so that we don't have any issues. Next, then you want to go in with a dehydrator. I like to use Swipe for press-ons on my natural nails. You can also use, which I really love, the brand Gelish. You can use their pH bond. It works the same way, and you would apply that on your natural nails and to the tip. Then you're going to go in with a primer. I'm using this protein bond by Gelnails. My next best one that I like to use is the Gelish Pro Bond. It is a nail primer as well, and you're going to apply that to your natural nails and your nail tips, and you definitely want to let the primer dry. The one by Gelnails, so that it can adhere better, because if it's wet, it's not going to actually work properly. Now, the one by Gelish, you can cure that for 30 seconds. So next, you're going to size your tips and find your tips. Like I said, again, I do like these that I got from Amazon, they already fit really seamlessly, and you want to basically size your tips where they fit sidewall to sidewall. You don't want anything hanging off, and you definitely don't want a tip that is too tight to where it's squeezing. That means it's too small. If it's too big, you rather go with the bigger size if it's hanging off, because I know like some fingers for me, I have to choose a size that is bigger, and then all you would do is just file down these sides, but I will show you that a little later in the video. So this part of the video, I wanted to quickly explain. So when you're doing your nails or even your client's nails, and just kind of bear with me because this position is really awkward to explain this, but you want to not only pay attention to how the person's finger is going. Do you see how my pinky is going like slightly curved to the left? So you want to pay attention to that person's knuckles and how it's going. See how some fingers are kind of curving in or going slightly to the left or the right? Okay, but you want to pay attention to the knuckles. The knuckles is going to give you an accurate way to place that tip on correctly. If you place that tip on just looking at the person's finger, like how my finger is going to that, the pinky is going to the left. If I place that on like how that finger is going, it's going to be crooked. So you want to size it and pay attention to how the knuckle. So you see how I went from that knuckle down, and I'm going to place it down right here. Now I might kind of have to slightly move it over to the, to the right a little bit, but you want to make sure that their finger is like straight towards you when you're doing this, because when you face like your finger the opposite direction, if you're doing your own, you can't really see this, and that's why sometimes the tips will be crooked. So look, so see how I'm showing you here. If I place it down, then like I said again, you kind of have to move it over a little bit, and that's because some people's fingers, like I said, are gonna go curve in, or to see how this pinky, if I place it like this is exactly how that tip is gonna sit on there. It's gonna be really crooked and it's not going to look right. So just pay attention to that when you're doing it. And like I was mentioning, if you do this on yourself and you place it like how my fingers are like this, you will never be able to know, the direction to actually place that tip. So you want to kind of have the finger coming towards you, especially if you're doing this on your client, and just pay attention to, like I said, those key things. Not only the finger direction, how the finger is going, but you also want to look at the knuckles. Next, I'm going in with DND. This is a UV gel to apply the tips. I also find great adhesion with the Gelish brands. The way you want to apply this for every nail, it will be different with the amount that you use, but the rule of thumb is not to use too much so that this can eliminate the flooding of the cuticles and also running into the side walls and the bottom of the skin, and also heat spikes. So you want to measure for each finger the amount of gel that you are going to use. If you have wider or longer nail beds, you might need to cover a little bit more surface area. For me, my nails is not that, like, I don't have wide nail beds, so I need to only stop in a certain area. I'll show you in a little bit, because you will notice throughout the video that when I apply the glue too far down on the tip, the glue starts to run towards the end of my nails. And so this is why I say to measure the gel before you actually apply the tip, because this is basically just wasting products. Then to also, if you have any spillage, you're going to go around with a cleanup brush and clean up anything with a little bit of alcohol to make sure none of that gel cures on the sides or, on your skin. My setup is very bootleg right now, so just bear with me. So what you want to do is apply the gel, and like I said, not to apply too much. Now, you don't want to be messing around with the gel here, like you see how I'm messing around with it, because this can create bubbles. And if you see any, make sure to try to get those out, because if not, that can lead to lifting. So the key when applying press-ons is to angle and line the cuticle part of the press-on as close as possible to your cuticle, but not touching the skin. And once it's lined up, slowly pull down the tip so that the glue can kind of flow downward. And while you're holding the tip at the end, you want to slowly start moving your finger towards the light And what I like to do is this gives me enough time so that the gel can actually run down, but also where it won't create those air bubbles or air pockets. And then I will place my hand in the lamp for a few seconds. Now you notice that I took it out really quickly because sometimes the gel tends to move itself on its own with the press on, and it'll start sliding. So I kind of just check in between to make sure that it's still, that the press on is straight and not crooked, because if you leave it on there and you don't pay attention to that part, it will be crooked when you actually come out of the light. So I like to, like I said, put it in there for a quick 3 seconds and then take it out to make sure that everything is still aligned with my cuticles and side walls. And once it is, then I'll put it back in the lamp to cure for a full 30 seconds. And at the end, we will put all the nails back in there for 60 seconds. Now I'm going to actually repeat the same process, so I'm gonna let you watch that. And then this nail lamp is from Amazon. I did do a Amazon review on this nail lamp, which is the most affordable one on Amazon. And like I told you guys, it definitely has lasted me for a while. So definitely check that review out if you haven't, and I'll leave a link as well. So I've been talking and talking and talking. I'm gonna let you look at this now. Okay, now here I want to show you, do you see how the ring finger, the gel didn't really come down and flow? So definitely make sure that you're putting the right amount of pressure, like medium pressure, not too much or not too little, because if not, that gel will not be able to run down and it'll just sit up at the top area. So be sure to use enough medium pressure. And this is the gel that I'm actually using by DND, and I will post a picture here. That I also like to use the Gelish as well. That brand to me really holds up really well when you're doing gel X for press ones. Like I said, I do recommend this DND gel as well. Another thing that helps to prevent those bubbles is to definitely, it is all in your pressure, like how you are applying that gel, but also the pressure that you use definitely makes all of the difference in the world. And do you all see how this is the nail that I was saying that I pushed the gel down a little too far down? And that's why I said that, like, for me, I don't have long wide nail bed, so the gel definitely needs to stop at a certain point. So definitely pay attention to that as well, because you will have to go back and clean all that gel that kind of spilled underneath. The next thing that I want to show you are, do you see these small little tiny bubbles, like the air bubbles, air pockets? Now this can lead to lifting, usually on the sides. That's where the lifting is going to occur. Now it may or may not, but I would definitely say if this does occur, try to get this out. And if you can't, then definitely you might have to remove it, because it will lead to lifting with those air pockets. Now, that wasn't the air pocket wasn't like too big, but you're definitely taking a risk by leaving that in there. Now, if you did all your prep good, then you should be okay. Here is the final result. I am going to go back underneath to kind of clean up more of the gel with alcohol. Now I'm going in with a 80 grit file. Here I'm pushing back that skin, and what you want to do is line the file up. Now anything that kind of came like the tip is hanging out and it's too big, this is kind of what we want to file inward. So think of shaping square tips like if you buy a door, and if it doesn't fit the frame, then we have to bring and basically cut the door to make it fit. So think of the door as the tip, and think of the frame as your nail, your cuticles or your sidewalls. So we're trying to fit that tip into your sidewall so that everything is aligned and fits with the width and the frame of your cuticles. Same way, like I said, like a door frame, it works the same way with the sidewalls. You're trying to make everything come in and look very seamlessly. So hopefully that example helped, because like I said, if it's like a door, if anything is like hanging or something, it's just not going to be straight. So you can see here how some of that tip part, it is like hanging off. So this is kind of what we want to bring in. Now if you are shaping, let's say like coffin is usually going to be a little bit wider at the body part, and then it starts to taper and slim in at the end part of that tip. If you're doing square, of course, you're just going to keep your file straight. So you want to make sure that you're turning your file in those different directions. Now when you're filing your own nails, I'm going to be honest, it is definitely the most difficult thing. You can see here how all of my fingers are going different directions, left, right, side. I'm definitely holding. You want to definitely hold those nails so that, you're not hurting your nail bed or anything like that. And then I like to kind of turn it around to make sure everything is straight. And you can also file it this way as well on the sides and on the top area. And what I like to do is kind of compare it here so you can see, the difference, and you can see what you still need to take in or actually stop. So you want to always check your work. You don't want to be taking off too much on one side. And then here I had like some that was still sticking out. So that's why I'm also going on. I'm paying attention to the sides where anything is hanging like out, and then I'm going to line that file up with my sidewalls. But you don't want the file to be all the way at the top, and then you don't want to take off too much of your like sidewalls. So you want to leave like a gap as well at some point. Like just pay attention to how I'm lining my file. So I'm lining it here, making sure everything is lined up. But once I start filing inward, I'm going to stop like filing that sidewall up at the top, because you don't want to take off too much. So the way you hold your file makes all the difference in the world, and will definitely determine what shape your tips come out. If you want more a straight, crispy look, always keep your file straight and align it, like I said, with your sidewalls. And then what I like to do is at the bottom, I'm gonna like have it going flat and go straight across like this, back and forth. And then I like to hold my file going like right here. You'll see like back going this way. Now y'all, like I said, it is really difficult to file your own like nails. Definitely I love doing short to medium nails on myself because it's like a lot easier. These long nails, they take a lot. I be feeling like, how Beyonce said, okay ladies, now let's get in formation. I gotta get these fingers in formation. One may go left while the other go right. I don't know if my finger's trying to give you a hug or what. The next thing that I'm going to do is go in with my medium grit sanding band, and I'm basically going to remove the shine on these tips. Now, to make your life easier, make sure if you're using a e-file that you pull that bit out, especially depending on the length of the nail. You want to take that into consideration. Because if not, it's going to put a lot of strain on your hands, especially the length. Like I said, always pay attention to what length of nails. Now, I'm also going to use this bit to also blend the tip with my cuticles, and also remove my cuticles as well with this. So I'm basically doing like 3 different things in one like go. So it definitely will save me a lot of time. Now, you can also use a file to do the same thing, like a 180 grit file. You can remove the shine, blend your cuticle in with the tip, and kind of remove some of that cuticle that's still left, which is what I'm doing right here. I'm going very slow, very gentle, using light pressure, not too like hard or anything like that, not too rough. And you also always want to use your pinky to stabilize when you're working with an e-file so that you can have better control. You want to always lay that bit flat to the nail, or parallel. You never want to raise it up too high because this can cause ring of fire. Next, I'm going in with a medium grit buffer, and I'm going to like kind of take away any of that roughness or like scratches that the e-file did, and I'm just going to remove that. Now, another thing that this helps also kind of with the gel polish as well, but I specifically like to use it right after if you're using an e-file, or definitely a file, because it will leave those marks and scratches. So we want everything to look like this. Now, when you go underneath, you want to be sure not to go too hard, because you can change that shape and cause the tip to kind of reform, and it'll change the shape even though you already like shaped it, so just be sure to pay attention to that. Now, the next thing I'm going in is this bit. I would definitely recommend this for beginners. Like if you're a beginner and you're getting into, using the e-file, this is a great bit. What I like about this bit, it's not a like 5-in-1. I feel like it definitely is a 4-in-1, because it's almost like it will, and this is a ceramic, but I also definitely like to use the carbide. I think the carbide definitely works a way better, but for beginners, I highly recommend this. What this bit is for is I like to blend the tip. I like to also remove the cuticle, and also like basically making it flush. So you kind of want that area to where it doesn't look like you have like press-ons on. So this is kind of what gives you that natural look, like it's growing directly off your nails. So I really like to use this, and this bit has definitely changed the game for me, where I love to use this bit, like I said, to blend that tip and make it more seamlessly, and where it doesn't look like the pressed on is just sitting there. And also, like I said, I think that the carbide one, I have that one as well. It works a way better, but this is a medium one. But the carbide one, to me, gets it a little bit more crisp. But if you're not, like I said, really great, then I suggest this one. I'm kind of showing a picture. I wish I could zoom in of how the press on looks on one of the fingers, on a few of the fingers, where I didn't like use the bit, and you can kind of see that comparison. So next, I'm going in with this DND nude color, and I love using this nude color because I feel like it's very versatile. I can make it very sheer, or I can build it up to 1 or 2 or even 3 coats to where it's like a perfect nude. I can even change this into a peach nude if I wanted to, by just layering it with another peach like nude color on top of this. So I feel like once you have a staple of a specific color, like you can do multiple things with it without having to buy so many. So I am going to use this and cover all of the nails, and then we're going to get into the design. So I decided that I was going to do 2 coats of that color. Next, I'm going to go in with this white gel polish color, and what I'm going to do is I'm making the middle nail like an ombre to match my thumb, which is also an ombre, and then the pinky one is going to be the French, and then the other 2 are going to be like with the rhinestones, so they're going to be different. So basically this design, I feel like anytime that you work with rhinestones, I like to always lay out the rhinestones. So before this is kind of like tips for beginners who are using rhinestones. Anytime you're using rhinestones, just make sure to lay them out before you get started. I feel like this definitely helps to guide you so that you won't waste so much time, when you're trying to. Now, I did freestyle this set, but when you are trying to use rhinestones and place them, and if you waste so much time trying to figure out where to place this, if you lay it down first and then place it, it'll just make your life a whole lot easier. So that's definitely a tip that I can say when using rhinestones. Now here I'm going in with my Makartt nail art brush. Y'all know I love and I rave about Makartt nail brushes. They're just so smooth and easy. Like, look how I just did that line. So like just smooth, just flick of the wrist. Like, those brush are so easy to work with. And if you're doing nail art, I definitely recommend those too. Now here, like I said, I'm doing a French, and I like to definitely take my time with French because I feel like with French, if you mess up, you can kind of see where you messed up. So I will link a video to that as well if you struggle with doing French design. The next thing I'm going to do is go in with this blending brush. It's almost like an ombre brush. I feel like the ombre brush definitely works a lot better than the blending. So I'm basically doing a tapping motion, and I'm going to do an ombre with this gel polish. So I'm going to kind of do a tapping to kind of first blend the line at the top so that it doesn't so you won't see that straight line. So I'm working on that first, and then I'm going to go below that and kind of use the middle portion of the brush, but not the whole brush. So the first part, like I said, I'm just going to use the tip part of the brush, kind of do like a tapping motion so that I can kind of blend that line, almost like if you are doing an ombre. When you do ombre, you want to blend that line like first up and then kind of go below that so it looks seamlessly. So I'm gonna let you guys watch this and I'll come back. And I forgot to mention, I did get this off Amazon as well. And I think the best way to do this is to work in sections. So you can see how I started on the all the way to the right, then I kind of worked my way towards the middle, and then now I'm going to finish on the other side and kind of blend together the same way that I did the other one. So this is kind of how it's starting to come out. Next, I'm going to go in with this rhinestone pen so that I can start to apply the rhinestones. Now, the gel that I recommend to do your rhinestones with, depending on the size of your rhinestones that you use, will determine the gel that you should definitely use. If you're working with smaller to medium size, then you can definitely use builder gel. If you're working with larger ones, then you definitely need to use something a little bit stronger, such as I believe it's called 10.99 or something, but I usually get it from my local nail supply store. But if I find a dupe, I will leave a link so that the rhinestones are not falling off or coming off in a day. So what I like to do is, you'll see everything is going to start to look a little crooked, but I'm going to I place down that gel first, and then I'm going to put the rhinestones in the place of wherever I put that gel down, and I'm going to kind of move them slightly. Now, what you will start to notice is that the rhinestones themselves will start to look a little dull, like something is on them. And a tip that I can say when working with rhinestones is to always clean off your pin, the rhinestone pin, because if not, a lot of times that gel can dry on that pin, and when you go to use it the next time, it will just rub off on the rhinestones and make them look dull. So here I'm kind of showing that the key is you want to keep everything symmetrical and straight, and align it with your cuticles and the like bottom part of that tip. So here I am placing the rhinestones in the area where the gel is. And again, like I said, I would definitely recommend a gel that I found to hold a lot better. Now, this one on this finger, you'll see is starting to slide and move all over the place. And that's why I say that finding the right like gel is going to save you a lot of time and frustration, because like this one is really slippery, but there's others that are a lot thicker. I find that the ones that are a lot thicker tend to do better when you're like placing them. The more slippery ones and looser ones, they tend to slide all over the place to me, and I don't really like to work with those, but I'm going to recommend a different one. So here I'm going to let you all finish watching. Here I'm showing these are the rhinestones that I got off of AliExpress, but I will recommend some more shiny ones. I do feel like depending on where you get the rhinestones from, some are more shiny, some are less, but you can definitely clean them off like I did to make them more shiny. And another thing that I want to say when working with rhinestones, you want to not use too much of the gel. Like less is definitely more, because if you have too much on there, it'll just start like spreading all over the nail, and you'll have a lot of cleanup to do. And it also makes the like rhinestones start to like almost look very dull if you have too much on there. Another thing that I want to say is when you're working with rhinestones and you're first starting out, I will say that it's best to buy something that's affordable, because I do love the brand called Blue Streak. I don't know if you all like are familiar, but they're very expensive, and I do have those, but I only use those for like paying clients, because I feel like if you're like just starting out, you want something very affordable, and that's why I recommend like the AliExpress or the ones from like Amazon, because you know you can play around with those. Now see here, I did add the caviar beads, and you can see how everything is starting to come together. I did on my thumb do a matte look. The other ones I did leave more of a top coat, and I did top coat them, and this is how they came out. I also added the pearls to give a more finished look. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you are enjoying this content that I'm giving out, all these tips, tricks, all of this, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all in my next one. You know your ombre is good when the light can't even pick it up.